Hey guys, it's Holly. Welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to do something a little bit different. And a lot of you know that I homeschool my oldest son. He's 6 years old. He's about to be going into first grade, so he was in kindergarten this last year. So we have chosen another homeschool curriculum for this coming year, and I'll talk about that more at a later date. However, I wanted to kind of review the curriculum that we chose for last year. So for the first half of pre-K, I also did homeschool as well, but with pre-K, it's a lot easier and you don't have to choose, a particular curriculum or anything like that. You can just kind of do your own thing, which really you can anyway. But when it came to kindergarten, I felt like I needed some more guidance. And so I did purchase a curriculum, and so we chose Abeka, which is a very popular Christian homeschool program. And the program that we chose, we didn't choose the one where they do everything online. So I chose the traditional, which is where they're using mostly just books and actually physically writing, and that was the way I learned as a child. So I'm 30 years old now, but I feel like our kids spend so much time on tablets, on laptops, and on phones, and so I feel like it's so important. For me, I know what works best for us is to go the traditional homeschool route and actually do books. And so anyways, without further ado, I'm just going to talk a little bit about it, and I'm going to tell you kind of what I liked about it, what I didn't like about it. And then, if you're in the market for a homeschool curriculum, you can, hopefully this video can help you, and you can kind of get a little bit of a better idea about it. So before I show you the books, I will tell you price-wise, I felt like it was kind of just middle of the road. The curriculums that I'm finding for this age group, typically the homeschool will run approximately $1,000 per year, so about $500 per semester, but it depends on different factors. Now, I do like the fact that Abeka does have payment plans, so you do not have to buy everything up front, and I do believe that most homeschool curriculums do offer that option as well, where you can just pay monthly installments. And so if you don't have the money to just pay it all up front, you don't have to, which is really cool. And I feel like homeschool is something that can be affordable for everyone. So I do also want to note there are free public homeschool programs as well. There's like K through 12, and I think there's another one as well that are primarily online based, but those are actually completely free. So that's something you can look into. Now, the only thing with those is I don't believe those are ones that you can do completely on your own time. I think your child does actually have to be online at certain times, including early in the morning. And so I'm going to be completely honest, one of the main reasons I love homeschool is because you get to be flexible and create your own schedule. And so for us, we prefer to do our classes like in the late mornings, the early afternoons, and that really helps us. We don't have to get up super early, not saying we sleep until noon or anything like that, but and I'm not judging people that do, but for us, that is what works best, because we have never been the type of people that do super well when we wake up really early. And I feel like that's a big issue in society these days too, is we have our children waking up at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, and we're sending them to school for 7 to 8 hours, and they're coming home, they're having to do homework, they're gonna want to play, but then they're gonna be too tired. And I don't know, I have a whole completely different stance, and I won't get into that right now. So ultimately, I do want to review Abeka, so I'm gonna turn the camera. A few of the items I have here, so I have my lamp on, my vintage lamp, and I'm kind of just gonna go over a little bit. Now, some of the books that would be in this box, I keep everything in a box so it stays organized, or a backpack. I use the backpack and the box. So the backpack is for the books that we typically currently are working on, and then the box is where I keep extra supplies and extra books. So you don't really need a whole lot in terms of extra school supplies that you would get from the store. Just basic things like crayons, colored pencils, markers, regular pencils, pens, whatever you want to use. Really, I mean, it's up to you. You don't have anyone dictating what you're using, which is also really cool. There's not this huge school supply list. So it actually does save you quite a bit of money in terms of that as well. And you're also not buying for all the other kids. You're not having to buy like tissues and sanitizing wipes and hand sanitizer and all this other crap. Okay, So these are a couple books we're still working on right now, actually. So during the summer, we will typically do a couple of books, and we will kind of, you know, still do like 2 to 3 worksheets per day. Now during the school year, we will do more like 3 to 4 a day, probably closer to 4 most days. It really just depends on what we have going on. So the thing I like about Abeka is they do send you a manual, which, you know, every curriculum does, which tells you exactly what to do. I did not go 100% by the book, but I just did what I felt was best for us. And they do have the accredited and non-accredited. Sorry, I'm trying to show you guys. So we did the accredited for the first semester, and then I switched to non-accredited because I had a really hard time trying to get communicate with them, and I'll talk about that more in a minute. So this is the math. This is just kind of the basic stuff for kindergarten. So this is number skills, K5 arithmetic. So the kindergarten, they have a K4 and a K5. We chose the K5 because my son is, I wouldn't say he's advanced by any means, but he's kind of just, he wasn't, I looked at the K4 and he was kind of a little bit above the K4 as far as his level of understanding. So then they give you these cards too with the K5. You just like trace the letters and you can draw on the back or whatever. So my son really liked that. And there are also like other flashcards they give you as well, which is really cool. They also give you certain books, like small books that you read when you're teaching your child how to read. So these are some of the cards, and I like they have the Bible verses and all that kind of thing. So I feel like, you know, as a Christian, we're non-denominational Christians, but you know, I feel like it's been really helpful because he's getting in his, you know, kind of like, we do separate Bible lessons separately as well, but he gets in a whole lot of you know, Bible lessons throughout doing his schoolwork. So you're kind of getting in two things at once, which is really cool. Now, this obviously, that right there is just an extra book that we never have even used. This did not come from Abeka. This was given to me by a friend that homeschools 4 children, as well as this one right here. So these two we will still probably do, like maybe as like an after school thing, I don't know. But I hate to waste them. So then they have like art projects. They give you an art project book. They give you 1 or 2 books that's like completely just nothing but Bible stories to do in their activity time. And this also right here is a really good book as well that I will mention. Teach Your Child to Read in 100 Easy Lessons. So we only got a little over halfway through this book before we just got caught up with so much of the Abeka books. But we did, my son does know how to read now a little bit, but we probably still will finish this as well. And I see people really like this book, and it's popular in the Christian community as well. But people are having their child do this when they're in preschool. And I feel like if your child is truly ready, then okay. But an important thing we have to remember is we cannot force the timing on when our child is going to learn how to read, guys. We cannot. It is not a competition. Please don't make it one. I hate it when I see people doing that. You know, it's not a competition. It's like potty training. It's like they're going to do it when they're going to do it. So, like I say, a lot of the other books I don't have. There was another math book as well. We finished that. And then this is the writing and phonics. And this is one of my favorites. I really like this one. So this is just where they trace and write. Okay. And then on the back I kind of took off, or he took off the cover, but that's just kind of what it looks like. So sorry, my camera angle is not the greatest. So that one we're actually still working on as well. I think we have a few pages left in that one. And then let's see, letters and sounds, K5. Okay, I'm just doing the best I can because I'm holding my phone. So this one we're still working on too. And so this one is really good as well. I really like all of the books. So, you know, and there was like, I think there was another writing tablet that came with this. And for the most part, I think that's mostly what came with it. Like I say, we finished several other books and I put them away, so I don't have them here to show you right now. But ultimately, my main takeaways, I think I pretty much showed you everything that's in here. Yeah. So yeah, so my main takeaways are ultimately, I felt like it was an easy enough program to use. I do feel ultimately my biggest thing is I feel like it's too much. I feel like it's way too much work for a child that young. And so, the cool thing about homeschool is you can do a lot more in a shorter amount of time because you're just working one on one with your child, or depending on how many children you're homeschooling. And so I really like that. But what I didn't like about Abeka, like I say, is they sent us way too much stuff for a child in kindergarten. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous in my opinion. So every curriculum is going to be a little bit different. And a lot of curriculums, there are even some that will send more than what we had with Abeka. But the thing about homeschool is you are ultimately choosing and you're making the decisions on how much you want your child to do. And at such a young age, we really don't want to be overworking them to the point that they are, I know with my son, he would start getting really tired after like the first, few books. And if I told him, okay, we have one more thing to do, he'd be like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And I'm thinking the same thing. I'm like, when I was in kindergarten, we didn't do nearly as much as these kids do nowadays. And so that's just my opinion, and that's just where I stand on that. So that would be my number one thing I don't like about Abeka. Number two, what I really didn't like is I found it very hard to communicate with them. So they were very, very nice people. Don't get me wrong, very, trying to be helpful. But we did the accredited program. And so at the end of the semester, you have to choose. This was for the first semester. Not choose, I'm sorry. You have to send in certain pages of your work, and show your grading and do progress reports and all that, which is good. You want to do all that kind of thing. However, the problem was I sent in all this stuff. They gave me a lot of trouble. They told me that we had to do some video lessons. And so ultimately what happened was they would not sign off on his semester and give him credit unless he did all these video lessons. But the problem was we couldn't get into our account, and we tried literally everything. We could not get to the video lessons, and the computer just kept saying, oh, your program doesn't include video lessons, which was always my understanding. We did the traditional program. It was understood that there were not any video lessons. And so I was very confused. And so I could not get a hold of them. I emailed, I called. They would try to troubleshoot with me on the phone. They'd be like, oh, all you have to do is this and you'll be fine. But it never was. And I was so angry in the end, irritated, because I ended up just switching to the non-accredited because I was like, I'm not dealing with this. This is absolutely ridiculous. And so that was kind of the issue that I had with that. Now, thirdly, the third and final thing I would say I did not like about Abeka was a lot of what's in the books. There are a whole lot of like gender roles. And I'm not judging people. I feel like everyone's got a different lifestyle and everyone has a different point of view. And there are some people out there that do view that the woman is supposed to cook and clean and do all these things, and the man just goes to work and that's it. But what I did notice with Abeka and the whole program is in the books, especially with the reading and the writing, it's almost like you will see a little bit here and there where there might be like a man in a picture that's cooking, he's frying an egg in a skillet or something like that. But for the most part, it was like, mom does this, mom cooks, mom puts the laundry up, mom cleans. And I'm not saying there's anything super wrong with that, but for me and my family, I want my son to understand as he gets older that marriage is a partnership, and just because one person works and the other person does not physically go to work does not mean that the other person is solely responsible for every little thing in the house, because honestly, it's not realistic. And most of us as adults, we know this. And so I just felt like the gender roles were a little bit too much. I felt like it was, it is a Christian curriculum, but I felt like it was really conservative. I felt like for me and my family, a little too conservative and a little too, I don't want to say backwards, but like I say, I just want my son to understand growing up that it doesn't have to be like that, and that's not the way it's going to look in every single family. And if it does look like that in some families, that is okay. I have nothing against people that want to have their gender roles and live life that way, but for me, I don't want that for my family. So And you know, that's just part of what comes with choosing certain curriculums, especially Christian curriculums as well. But I do like for my child to be able to get Bible lessons out of, you know, his schoolwork. And so that's an important thing for us. So anyway, so those are the three main reasons why I did not like it and why ultimately I'm choosing to go with a different curriculum. And so, like I say, what I did like is I felt like it was easy to use, easy to navigate, and, you know, definitely a lot to choose from, I will say that. But in the end, just too much, too many gender roles in the reading, a little too conservative for my taste, and also just a little too pricey as well. And the people, hard to communicate with, way too hard to communicate with. Nice people, but yeah, just not for me. So anyways, but yeah, I hope this video helps if you're considering Abeka. I don't think it's a bad program by any means. I actually think it's pretty good. I just, you know, I wanted to do a review and make people mindful of my own personal experience, because that can help other people. And I know when I am looking for a curriculum, I will look for YouTube videos and for people's reviews as well. So I will see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.